The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a magazine and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.com. Amy Sweetman. Amy has been a professor of neuroscience for more than 20 years. In this interactive seminar, she will present new brain research that will enable you to truly shed your fear of rejection, changing your perception of criticism, and making you bulletproof to adversity. Enjoy.
Wow. He's pretty amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming. So yesterday, I actually did the seminar on disarming rejection. Are you guys able to hear me okay? Do I need to speak up a little bit more? A little more. Okay, so today's is actually about the chemicals inside of us. So I want to start out by having you guys think of a window in a dark room. So I think a lot of us, we think that we're in a dark room and we only have one window and we get our light from the outside. And so we think that the light comes from the outside. And so we schedule everything according to what we get from the outside. But what I want to show you today is that we have a light switch inside. Because every thought that we think is just a chemical being released. Every emotion that we experience is just a chemical being released. Every time you get angry, it's just a chemical. Every time you're sad, it's just a chemical. And every action that we engage in is a chemical. So by understanding that the chemicals reside within us and that we are in control of our chemicals by our thoughts and our actions, this turns on a light switch. We don't need to be affected by external things as much because we have the control of our chemicals inside of us. Now, I said I also want to talk about recipes today. And so I want you to imagine this. If you're trying to make something and you don't know what the recipe is, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to make the right thing. So what my goal is today is to present you a recipe for balance that's based on chemicals. Because by understanding that we can control the chemicals inside of us and also attaching a chemical to where we're feeling the levels of imbalance, we can take control of it and we can say, what action must I engage in order to raise this chemical? And it gives us power. So I'm using this model. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this model. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's humanistic psychology. So the humanistic psychology doesn't believe that your past creates who you are. You're not a slave to your past. You are not a slave to your environment. It says that we have free will and that our choices can determine our stability, our emotional balance. But what we must do is we must constantly be moving towards our potential. So that everybody came to the best you today, I think you're on the right track because you're all here because you feel these embers inside of you burning and you want to expose yourself to these different ideas in order to move towards your potential. So that shows me that you're on the right path. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assign a chemical. So I'm going to merge humanistic psychology with neuroscience. So look, at the bottom level, we have our physiological needs. So the way that I'm merging neuroscience with humanistic psychology is, look, the brain has a limited amount of energy. We need to recognize that. We do not have unlimited energy. So if our body is not physically balanced, then the brain is going to take all of its mental energy to try to maintain our homeostasis. We can't have a strong mental balance up here if we don't don't have the physical balance down here. And what I love is that when I'm working at the booth over there, a lot of you are coming by, you're talking to me, and a lot of you are into nutrition, you're physical trainers, and this is the foundation. This is the foundation of our mental balance is our body being taken care of? Are we drinking enough water? Do we have some food allergies that are triggering our mental instability? The nutrition, is it right? But then his next level is the safety level. And so if we are in circumstances where we're always feeling attacked, we feel threatened all the time, then the brain takes all of its energy and focuses it on the attack. And what it does is it puts us in a retreat mode. And the retreat mode is definitely not moving towards our potential. We have to move forward. So if we're always under attack, we're just going to be holding back. So these two levels, I would just want to take as a given, that most of us in here have our physiological needs met and we have our safety needs met. So where the chemical framework comes in is on these top levels here. So love and belongingness. So this is my framework for empowerment. Again, the point of this talk is for you, when you feel unbalanced, to identify what chemical is off right now and not beat yourself up for it. This chemical is off right now. Now what I have to do is I need to take action to build this chemical. So I'm choosing oxytocin to represent love and belongingness. I love it that he puts love and belongingness right above our physical health, because there's so much research evidence that shows that being able to connect to others creates our health. So there's a longitudinal study over in the States. It's called the 75-year study, where they've studied people from Chicago. They were men of all walks of life, very poor men to very rich men, and they've studied them since they were 18 years old all the way into their 80s. And basically they wanted to see how their life progressed, and they found this: loneliness kills. We know that. Loneliness kills. And they found that the best predictor of the men's mental health and physical health was not their cholesterol levels. It wasn't physical markers. It was how connected they felt. The ones that felt a strong connection to others, they said that they were happy with life, that they were fulfilled in life. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to introduce this framework of empowerment, that I'm going to take you through each chemical, show you a little bit more about it, and then talk about how can I raise this. The next one is serotonin. So some of you may have heard of serotonin, that most antidepressants work on serotonin and it builds your serotonin. But I think a lot of you might say, I don't want to use drugs. I'm feeling depressed, but I don't want to use drugs. And I'm telling you that this chemical resides within you. And this chemical residing within you, it's triggered by your thoughts and your actions, just like oxytocin. So when we feel self-respect, like, wow, I look good today, or I did a great job, then our serotonin level boosts. But when we feel, oh, I didn't do a good job, or oh, I could have done better, then our serotonin goes down. So the next final level, I don't want you to think of it as somewhere you're going to achieve, because you're never going to achieve it. It's like a star in the sky. You've got enough self-respect, you've got enough social respect, you've got enough belongingness, and now you're pursuing goals for no other reason other than to express yourself. So it's when you're using your potential just for the sake of it. And this is why I'm so glad that you're here, and I think that a lot of you probably feel a little high today, because you are moving towards this potential. You've got your dopamine released. So dopamine is this chemical that's never satisfied. It's why we get so tired of everything. We'll explain it a little bit more. So the question is if I feel lonely and empty, what chemical am I trying to balance? It's oxytocin. If I feel a bit depressed, or if I feel like I don't have enough self-esteem, it's serotonin. If I don't feel motivated, or I feel addicted to something, I feel like out of control, it's probably dopamine. So let's go over each chemical a little bit more. So I think a major thing that throws off our balance is our stress. And so I have a TED Talk here by Kelly McGonigal, and it's called How to Make Stress Your Friend. And she talks about oxytocin. So I'm going to let her have the stage right now.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
So we need to talk about a hormone, oxytocin. And I know oxytocin has already gotten as much hype as a hormone can get. It even has its own cute nickname, the cuddle hormone, because it's released when you hug someone. But this is a very small part of what oxytocin is involved in. Oxytocin is a neurohormone. It fine-tunes your brain's social instincts. It primes you to do things that strengthen close relationships. Oxytocin makes you crave physical contact with your friends and family. It enhances your empathy. It even makes you more willing to help and support the people you care about. Of oxytocin are enhanced by social contact and social support. So when you reach out to others under stress, either to seek support or to help someone else, you release more of this hormone, your stress response becomes healthier, and you actually recover faster from stress. I find this amazing that your stress response has a built-in mechanism for stress resilience. And that mechanism is human connection. I want to finish by telling you about one more study. And listen up, because this study could also save a life. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States, and they ranged in age from 34 to 93. And they started the study by asking, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends, neighbors, people in your community? And then they used public records for the next 5 years to find out who died. Okay, so the bad news first. For every major stressful life experience, like financial difficulties or family crisis, that increased the risk of dying by 30%. But, and I hope you are expecting a but by now, but that wasn't true for everyone. People who spent time caring for others showed absolutely no stress-related increase in dying, 0. Caring created resilience. And so we see once again that the harmful effects of stress on your health are not inevitable. How you think and how you act can transform your experience of stress.
And that's a main point here, right? It's how you think and how you act can transform the stress. So another TED Talk, I didn't want to show you too many videos, so I'll go over another one, is The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown. Has anyone seen that one? Okay, so what she was studying shame. She was trying to understand the emotion of shame. So she interviewed thousands of people about their shame experiences to try to figure out the emotion shame. But in her research, what she came across is there were some people that had a strong sense of love and belongingness. That's the level that we're talking about, right? Love and belongingness. And then there were others that just didn't seem to be able to feel that sense of love and belongingness. And she found that the one thing that made the difference is this. The people that had love and belongingness, they felt that they were worthy of love and belongingness. I think the previous speaker, her tagline is, I am enough, right? Isn't it? Worthiness. But here's the thing is, I'm hoping that this talk is instilling absolute worthiness in you, because now you understand that when you reach out to others and you try to connect to them, you understand that you're boosting their oxytocin levels. You are making them healthier. You are helping to stabilize them. We should not fear reaching out to others in any way, shape, or form, because we're actually helping them. So I'm hoping that this understanding of, look, this sense of connection It boosts my immune system. It helps me by raising this oxytocin. When I reach out to others, it's not just helping me, it's helping them. So I'm hoping that this talk, if it does nothing else, that you're like, dang, I'm going to reach out and give some oxytocin to this person. So look, there was this middle schooler. And middle school, I don't know if you guys call it middle school over here, but it's an awkward time. It's when they're going through puberty. And so this kid, he felt like, I can't connect to others because they don't get me. I don't relate to them in the same way. I don't think the same way as them. And he felt like he looked awkward because his bones were growing at different rates. And so he ate lunch all by himself, and he wouldn't talk to people in class. And he became so lonely that he became suicidal. And his parents were devastated. Oh my gosh. And they went to the psychiatrist and they said, what can we do? What can we do? And the psychiatrist says, I need you to you're going to send him to this social skills training camp. It's 2 weeks long. They're going to give him some social skills, and then you're going to take him out of that school, and I want you to put him in another school, give him a fresh start. So he went, came back, sent him to a new school. Within a month, he's now got some close friends that he brings over every day. Well, not every day after school, but every now and then they come over, they play video games, they go in the backyard, they throw the football, they go hiking on Saturdays. And then his mom has to pick him up every day from school. And in about 2 months, she starts to see even the guys, the girls, everybody's waving bye to him. Hey, see you later. And she's like, wow, it seems like you're pretty popular. What is it? Was it the social skills training camp? Was it the new school? He says, no, I think it was one sentence. What? One sentence? What was the one sentence? Well, me and my camp counselor, it was our turn to go get the firewood. So we were walking to pick up the firewood, and he asked me why I would ever want to end my life when I'm so young. And I told him, it's because I'm so weird. No one gets me. I'm weird. I feel weird. And he turned me around and looked me in the eyes, and he said this, man, it's not about how you feel. It's about how you make other people feel. And he said, there was something about the intensity in his eyes that I realized I should never be thinking about myself when I interact with others. I should just be focusing on how am I going to make them feel good? How am I going to make them feel good? How are you going to raise their oxytocin? Let's go to the next one.
We need to talk about a hormone.
Now, this serotonin, this one is a little tricky of a chemical, and this one is the one that the antidepressants work on. We find that when people have high levels of social respect, it goes high. When we get low levels of social respect, social isolation, it goes low. So this one, I want you to think of 2 glass jars. So we have a glass jar over here. It's a big one. And we have a glass jar over here. So let's talk about this glass jar over here, and we're going to use pennies. So every time you legitimately think a positive thought about yourself, like, you know what, I did pretty good on that. Or, you know what, I look pretty good today. Or you set aside time and you're like, I'm going to clean my closet today. And you spend 10 minutes cleaning your closet. Every time you do something like that, I'm going to organize something. I am going to exercise today. I am going to eat right today. And you actually follow through, you get to put a penny in there. You get to put a penny in there. Are you guys with me? But look, here's the problem. Every time that you talk crap to yourself, that you say, oh, you look like crap. Oh, you didn't do this. Or you see something that you should do. You should have gone to exercise today, but then you didn't exercise. You just sat and watched TV. Every time you do that, you have to take a penny out. See, the thing is a lot of us don't understand that every time we think a negative thought, it's dropping the serotonin. We think, oh, it's just a negative thought. No, it's not. It's a chemical drop. So over in America, there's this really famous marriage researcher. His name is John Gottman. And he says that in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative experiences. And if that ratio gets off, then the relationship starts to fall apart. So here's my question. Do you have a lot of pennies in that jar? Do you have a lot of pennies in that jar? You see what I'm saying? right? Are you saying 5 times as many positive things to yourself as the negative thing? Now, here's another thing from him before I move on to maybe this jar here, is he also talks about that there's 4 things that lead to divorce. And the first one is this: criticism. He says you should never, ever criticize your mate because it leads you on the path to destruction of the relationship. But he says it's okay to complain to your mate. So let's see the difference between criticism and complaining. Criticism is when you say you. Complaining is when you say, I feel. So let's see the difference here, and let's see how we're going to evolve this in serotonin. You look fat today. That's criticism. You just dropped that serotonin. Let's do it this way. I think we're going to go on a 20-minute walk today. Do you see? You said, this is what we're going to do. You do it, and that raises your serotonin. So, of course, we're going to want to prompt ourselves to grow, but we don't prompt ourselves to grow and raise the serotonin by saying mean things to ourselves. We just set goals so that we can improve. You understand the difference? So, you know what before I go over to this jar over here, I want to tell you another story. So there was this man, and he was walking in the woods, and a lion attacked him. So the lion came and attacked him, but he was able to fight off the lion, but he was left with this huge scar on his face. And every time that he looked in the mirror, he remembered the attack, and he felt like he was damaged. So since he felt like he was damaged, he walked with his head down, and he didn't make eye contact. And the people all around him, they took that as a sign of rejection. He doesn't want to talk to us, so they never reached out to him. And he started to become very isolated, very lonely, and he did indeed become damaged. Now here's another man that he also got attacked by a wild animal, and he was left with a scar on his face. But he saw his scar on his face as a blessing, that he was a hero, that he got away from the attack. And so when he walked with the scar on his face, he walked with his head held high and no shame at all. And all the people, he made lots of eye contact, and all the people that saw him walking so proudly with his imperfection, it made them okay with their imperfections. And he did indeed become blessed. And he was seen as a hero. What we think about ourselves and how we interpret things from our past affects how we present ourselves to others. And then others reflect this back on us. So I wish that I could tell you that you are in full control of your serotonin, but you're not. I'm sorry. You can do all these things that I'm telling you, but you still get a certain raising and lowering of serotonin from other people's perception of you. So let me show you how that goes. But before I go, how many of you can relate to this statement? You feel really good. You're like, I am proud of who I am. I am proud of who I am. But then you get around this one person. And this one person, it's just these little negative thoughts that they say to you, or just the way they look at you, or just the way they treat you, that it makes you shrivel. Yes? There's just one. You have to recognize that that is lowering your serotonin, and you need to put up these boundaries and be like, nah, we can't allow you to lower my serotonin. I need to stay away from you, right? And sometimes we can't because maybe it's a boss. So maybe what we have to do is we have to, maybe you guys could look at that rejection is protection kind of thing that I was talking about the other day. We could look at that maybe a little bit. But I want to show you, because I want to make you understand that this even happens with monkeys. Okay, so this is an alpha vervet monkey. He's alpha. You know his serotonin is high. He's the king. Yes, right? So what they did is they put him behind a window so that he could see his troop, but the troop could not see him because the window has a mirror on it. Can you guys picture that? So these guys can't see him, but he's standing behind here. So he's standing behind the window doing all this stuff, going, honor me, pay respect to me. And they can't see him, so they are not reacting to him at all. Oh my gosh, a little bit of this, he's becoming so frustrated. They measure his serotonin levels. It's dropping. After a few days of this, he doesn't even make the postures anymore. He just shrivels. So thinking that how other people treat us doesn't shrivel us, yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right, so we understand that from this right here, this jar over here, that when people disrespect us, it's pulling out the pennies of our serotonin. But so we'll just say we got to put some boundaries up. We don't allow people to disrespect us. We have to stand for ourselves to maintain our confidence. We can't allow that. But now what I want to do is I want you guys to think about, you have to think about somebody that you know, someone that you know that you deeply respect. It can't be some celebrity. It can't be somebody that you don't interact with. That's a whole different chemical.
Having promoted more than 600 speakers and more than 65,000 people attend my seminars and courses and workshops and expos, having read so many books and attended so many courses, I really realized that the basics of personal, professional growth is based on the power of the question. Asking yourself empowering questions. Read my new book, The Question, Find Your True Purpose. It's based on my work, 30 years of entrepreneurship, all the experiences that I have, my manifesto, and what's really important. So for more information, go to www.thequestion.co.
Everybody has somebody in their life that they respect. Okay, I'm going to make a guess. I could be wrong. I don't think that it's necessarily the most attractive person in your life. I don't think it's necessarily the person that's had the most success. I don't think it's the person that has the most money. I think that the person that you have the deepest respect for is somebody who has lightened your load. They have served you in some way. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think that the people that we truly respect are the people that have contributed to our efforts, have contributed to the group goals. So in order for you to raise your serotonin levels in reference to others, this is the question that you must ask. How can I serve others today? How can I contribute to the group? You don't get respect from trying to be, oh, I'm so great. That's going to trigger them rejecting you because they have to keep their serotonin levels up. So looking that you're great, they're going to be like, no, I'm great. So this will affect your serotonin. But if you serve them, then they respect you and that balances off on you. This is my logo, and I made an interesting... I saw an interesting pattern in this. Do you see this chemical right here? This one right here is called oxytocin, and it has many connections. It's the chemical of connection. And then this one right here is your serotonin. Do you see how the two are reflecting each other a little bit? So the chemical that I'm going on to right now is I'm going on to that top one. Do you see how it's just one ring and then you've got the bonds there? Because dopamine is a much different chemical. It's an individual chemical. And I have it up at the top because I want you to think of this right now. Can you guys all think of a future goal that you have? Just think of a future goal that you have. Now here's my question. Did you look up? So serotonin and oxytocin, they're called here and now chemicals. So they're released through what we can achieve here and now, what you can touch. But dopamine is released when you look to the future. So in most of these talks, they talk about having vision statements, and you having a vision statement is probably the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself, because this is the chemical that can take you to your highest high, but it can also drop you down to your lowest low if you do not control it. So this chemical is very future-oriented. Whenever you pursue a future goal, it is released. This is the chemical we love, unpredictability. A lot of you say, no, I don't love unpredictability. But yes, we do. Whenever something's unpredictable and we could have a possible reward, this gives us a high. Maybe a lot of you have experienced this. You've experienced looking in the refrigerator, and the refrigerator's full, but there's nothing to eat, right? There's nothing to eat because there's nothing in there that's new or that will release massive dopamine. How about a closet? You go to your closet and it's full of clothes. And you say, oh, but there's nothing to wear. It's because nothing in there is new. Nothing in there will release your dopamine. So this one is released through novelty, creativity, and this is why we will never be satisfied. It's called the molecule of more. But I want to show you some other things that release this dopamine. All addictions are releasing dopamine. So if we don't set our goals and say, I want to release this dopamine this way, then we might fall to addictions. Like, for example, if you're trying to control your eating and all of a sudden you feel this massive craving to eat something that you don't want to eat, you can ask yourself, is there a better way for me to get my dopamine? Okay. All right, so this one is, as long as we're moving towards the goals that we set for ourselves, then that will maintain our pride. Because if we try to get our dopamine through porn, right? Porn is going to release dopamine. Like maybe you're in a relationship and you want to stay in that relationship, but then you meet somebody else and they seem so fascinating and so interesting, and you start to think, oh, maybe I should cheat. You could say, oh, I'm trying to release my dopamine that way. There's better ways for me to stay focused on my goals rather than to cheat. Maybe you guys get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you start spending money that you don't need to spend. You can now ask yourself, oh, am I just trying to release my dopamine? Is there a better way for me to release my dopamine? So dopamine is set for our goals. And as long as we set our goals for ourselves, we won't be pulled off track by releasing dopamine in ways that make us feel ashamed of ourselves, make us lower our serotonin. I think the only way that you can keep this balance is to keep moving toward your goals. So I'd like to end this talk with a story. Send you on your way. And maybe some of you know this story. It's a favorite book of mine. It's by Shel Silverstein. And it's called The Missing Piece Meets the Big O. What I've tried to do for you here is I've tried to show you that you have 3 chemicals that you need to keep balanced. And the chemicals cannot recalibrate by inaction. Every day you have to set a goal to connect to people. What am I going to do to connect deeply to people? To keep that oxytocin in line? What am I going to do to make myself proud? What am I going to do to contribute to the group effort to maintain your serotonin level? And then the third one is what am I going to do to move towards my self-actualization? What am I going to make sure to do in order to express my own potential? And if we don't take action each day to maintain those, then our balance starts to fall off. So here's my story, okay? So we're talking about this little triangular piece. And the little triangular piece, he's waiting for someone to take him somewhere. He just wants to have this great, happy life. And so he meets all these different circles with pieces missing from them. But he tries to fit with them, and he doesn't really fit with them. But then one day he meets that perfect circle. That perfect circle comes along. There's no missing pieces. It's a very balanced circle. And he asks the circle, what do you want of me? Says the missing piece. Nothing. Oh, what do you need from me? Asked the missing piece. Nothing. Who are you? Asked the missing piece. I am the Big O, said the Big O. Well, perhaps you are the one that I've been waiting for. I'm hoping that I could roll with you. You can't roll with me, but perhaps you could roll by yourself. By myself? A missing piece cannot roll by itself. Have you ever tried? Asked the Big O. Oh, but I have sharp corners and sharp edges. I'm not shaped for rolling. Corners wear off, shapes change. Anyhow, I must say goodbye, and away it rolled. Oh, he's left there all alone. He's left there all alone. But then slowly, he lifts himself on one end and flaps over. Then lift, pull, flap, he begins to move forward. And soon he's bumping instead of flapping. And then he's bouncing instead of bumping. And then he's rolling instead of bouncing, and he doesn't know where, and he doesn't care. he's rolling. Look, when people leave you, you need to understand they've taken their chemicals away from you. Those relationships are painful when they break up. When something doesn't work out for you or you experience social rejection, that is painful. It's changing your chemicals. But what I wanted to give you today is the understanding that you are the big O. And if you move forward and you keep making these goals for yourself, who am I going to connect with? How am I going to make myself proud? What goals am I going to go for? The high that you're feeling today, I hope you go for all those goals because it keeps you balanced and stable. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you recognize the chemicals. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.